inflation, obviously, if it maintains, then they're not going to raise the interest rates. There was no economic reports due for release today, and the rest of the week's calendar is on the light side. Housing news, however, and Ruth Ann Bowe just walked in the studio, so she's getting herself all settled in, but she's going to be talking about the housing news. CoreLogic reports that home prices, including distressed sales, rose 6.7% year over year in July of 2017 from July of 2016, and increased 0.9% month over month in July from June. CoreLogic says the combination of steady rising prices along with very tight inventory of unsold homes should keep upward pressure on home prices. That remains to be seen. We've got the expert in the house today to give us all of those stats. Say hello, Ruth Ann Bowe just walked in.
Hello, Ruth Ann Bowe just walked in.
Ruth Ann Bowe. She formerly with KW, now with Village Properties, has been a very good friend for a very long time. How long have we been working together?
Depends. We started working together before I was even an agent.
Right, you were in title.
Fidelity National Title.
And, that was 20 years ago.
13.
13?
Feels like 20.
Yeah, so that was 13 years ago, and look at us. We're still friends, and we're still working together.
We tolerate each other. Oh, my gosh. I'm impressed.
Well, you couldn't stand me when you were entitled, but now you
No,
love me?
I was thinking it was the other way around.
Oh, God, come
I do
on.
have to say, over the last couple of years in particular, I am absolutely a fan of the Guy Rivera Love Club.
Oh, nice.
Yes, massive fan.
Well, it takes a while for me to just actually glob onto you, I guess, right?
Buy me enough cocktails. No, not really. That was a long time ago before I was a realtor.
Yeah, it's a good thing you don't drink anymore. That's real good. So, Ruth Ann, I got one more piece of housing. And this you're going to be really interested in because it's just started to come out this month, and there's great possibilities of shortening time frames, especially for refinance. And I found this. We have already implemented it, but I haven't gotten any accepts yet. Listen to this. Freddie Mac announced today that consumers who are buying or refinancing existing mortgage loans may be eligible for an automated appraisal alternative. Now what that's called is a property inspection waiver for refinances, and that's been going on for the last year. I'm sure you've known about that. Mm-hmm. So for a refinance, but they just released property inspection waivers. It's a hit and miss for purchase loans,
which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. How do you know what the value is? Because somebody's willing to pay that much for it? I mean, if you're in a position to be able to pay more for a house than it's actually worth and you're okay with it, then great, do it. If not, I don't understand why they would do that.
That's an interesting position, and it's the right position. Even if we do get this for a property on, say, a Ruth Ann borrower, would you insist that they actually got an appraisal for a purchase and spend that money? Or would you, as a realtor, say, you know what, it's not worth the risk. Let's move forward, and I'll pay for the appraisal myself. But I definitely agree with you if you're purchasing a property. But this is an electronic valuation thing. It's a lot deeper and a lot more accurate than a Zestimate, than a Zillow, than a Zestimate. But it's out there. Freddie's automated collateral evaluation assesses the need for traditional appraisal by leveraging proprietary models and using data from multiple listing services and public records, as well as wealth of historical home values to determine collateral risks. So if they're taking a bunch of different MLS listings in that area And they're all the same, but how can they tell? This house is not upgraded. This house is upgraded. There's a ton of different algorithms that
in
have
this
to.
area especially, because when you think about it, there are areas where one block the value is one thing, and 3 blocks over it's a completely different neighborhood. And if you're not using somebody that's doing the valuation that understands our market, they're going. I had a friend that was doing a refinance, and the appraiser was from out of the area, and he was on the Upper East, yet they were using lower East properties as to compare with, and it made no sense. We had to actually fight the appraisal, and that was an in-person appraisal. So imagine if they're doing it from a desk.
Well, that wasn't one of my clients, because I'll tell you that much. All my appraisers are homegrown, born and raised, paneled appraisers for Guarantee Mortgage, and they have all been born and raised here in Santa Barbara.
And this is a prime example why you should never use an online mortgage company.
Oh,
because
geez,
that's
like
who it was.
the Mortgage Depot or the Mortgage,
Lending
of those guys.
Tree,
Yeah, Lending
something
Tree,
like that.
yeah.
Oh, they're awful.
Now that's
I guess
a
I
sore
shouldn't
subject.
say that.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna. Richard's giving us a finger. We're gonna need to take a quick commercial break. I'm so happy to see my friend Ruth Ann Bowe here in the studio with us. You're listening to Mortgage Matters. I'm Guy Rivera, your guy in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You are correct, sir.
Okay, we are back. We were having a quick discussion with Ruth Ann Bowe regarding property inspection waivers, how they work, how they don't work. But they're out there, and I think they're out there best suited for refinances. If you can capture a PIW for a refinance, that's great stuff. But I am all in with Ruth Ann regarding purchase transactions.
There's so many variables that it could appraise too low. It could appraise too high. It just doesn't make sense. You need to know as you're buying a property what the actual value is. Even my cash buyers, I recommend that they get an appraisal.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. You want to make... But then again, you had said something that's valid here. If there's somebody finds a house that they cannot possibly live without, they're going to buy it. Point in fact, I closed a transaction last week where my buyer paid $1.9 million for a piece of property. Appraisal came out at $1.6 million.
Oh, my goodness.
He said, I don't care. I want that house. That's my house. This is all he said to me. I don't care. That's my house, and I'm buying it. Okay, well, what do you want to do about that? Nope. I offered him that much money, and this is how this guy is, and which is to his credit. He says, I made my offer. I put my best foot forward. He accepted my offer, and I'm not going to go back and beat him up about it. I'm paying $1.9 million for that house.
That's a dream buyer. Where can I have more of those?
No, and that's his house. He's going to retire and die in. It's
Beautiful.
on the water. It's got a boat slip. It was all perfect.
Not in town.
No, it's down south. But that's it. That's his thing. That's him. And he's done. He went, and I said, "You're overpaid." I don't care. So there are people out there that have that money that will, because it comes down to the same adage, the same old adage. It's just as much. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay or sell it for. That's all. What somebody's willing to pay for it, that's how much it's worth. So he's living happily ever after. Took possession last week, and he's living happily ever after. But let's continue on about this property inspection waiver. By leveraging the data and advanced analytics, as well as 40-plus years. So they're taking 40 years of historical data. They're cutting costs and speeding up the closing process for borrowers. It's a shame, but what they're really doing, because there's a shortage on appraisers out there. A lot of appraisers are not there, and it's hard for, not here. We're not experiencing it here, but we're talking about the small dollar ranges. Kansas City, Texas, obviously now more so, but all the little where you have nothing but conforming loan amounts. So it's a different animal there as opposed to here. So I can kind of get it. I can kind of see it. But again, I'll restate that I stand with you regarding a purchase transaction. Really should have a detailed appraisal associated with that transaction just for the security and the responsibility to the buyer.
I agree.
So
one other thing too, a trend that I've seen a little more often recently than I have in the past is sellers that have rental properties, and they're contacting the tenants and asking the tenants if they want to buy, and often the tenants are buying whatever the seller says that they'll sell it to them for, assuming it's a good deal. And I've gone out and given price opinions, and it ends up that it's not, that they're asking way more than the property is worth, and the tenants don't know that. That's another place where an appraisal will come in handy. If you waive an appraisal on something like that, where it's the tenant buying it straight from the seller, it's never been on the market. There's never been any offer to other potential buyers to see what any other buyer might be willing to pay for it. And an appraisal is especially necessary in those situations.
Sure. And I'm assuming, because I've received property inspection waivers on refinances, never have on a purchase. I'm expecting to, but I'm assuming that we're going to be able to get those. When somebody's putting down 30% or 40%, and the data starts kicking in, and the algorithms start, jumping into, full steam ahead, and that electronic evaluation system that they have in place kicks in at those ratios, as opposed to the 3 to 5% down. So
just won't work for them.
Yeah, it just so that's a whole other. It's a whole other ball game. 5% down, 10%, 30 or 40% down, even 25. That's where I'm thinking those PIWs will kick in. Okay, Richard gave us the finger. We're going to take another quick commercial break. Then we're going to come back and talk all about Ruth Ann Bowe. She's going to share You're going to share some stats with us, right? What's sold, what's going on in Santa Barbara, what our price range is.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about how you go out there and create opportunities, because I was thinking about this on my way over. You actually create opportunities for buyers and sellers without it. I mean, it just happens. We're going to talk about that, how I see it, and you can clarify it for us when we come back. This is Guy Rivera. You're listening to Mortgage Matters. Your guy in the mortgage industry. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. You're listening to Mortgage Matters. Guy Rivera, your guy in the mortgage. I'm having problems with that today. Mortgage industry. We're talking to Ruth Ann Bowe with Village Properties. Give yourself a proper introduction, Ruth Ann.
Hi. I've been selling real estate a lot. I've been having a good year. And I also teach at Santa Barbara City College. I teach the real estate principles class. I've been a licensed agent. I just got my broker's license this past summer.
Ta-da!
Super excited about that. I don't intend to go off on my own, but at some point I'll want to retire, and it'll be good to have that just for referrals. So that's me in a nutshell.
You're teaching at City College, and I get to be professor for the day.
Yes,
I love doing that.
I
really do.
You do. It's funny because I try not to have exactly the same people every semester, but I have to. I mean, everybody that does it, love it. They love it so much. And every time they do it, they get better and better at it because they understand what it is that they need to do. It's less scary, kind of like coming on this radio show.
Come on, from day one, I was the best. I was the best speaker you have. Even your class said so. Okay.
It is fun.
Let's go. Let's jump on into some stats. What's been going on in the Santa Barbara market? Now, I know that you have your pulse, you have your finger on this pulse. Give it to us straight.
Absolutely. So it's interesting. Ever since the downturn in 07, 08, I really felt that the market has been on a roller coaster. You would anticipate a trend one direction, and the very next month it turns itself around again. So we're not having any consistency on a month-to-month basis. As an example, in July, we closed 93 transactions between Carpinteria and Goleta. That's single-family homes and PUDs, not counting condos or manufactured homes. 93 transactions. That was in July. In August, we closed 115. In August of 2016, we closed 122. So July usually is really one of the hottest months. Summer months are always big, and it starts to slow down as we get into August and September with back to school. People stop moving. We are expecting it to be lower numbers for closed transactions in August because we only put 99 pending in August. We've got 475 active listings right now, again, single-family homes and PUDs. That's about 4 months of inventory, which makes it really close to an even market. Still leaning a little towards the seller, but really kind of a flat, stable market. Average sales price was $1,973,000 this month, which was up quite a bit from last month, which was only $1,568,000. Why would that be? We had a lot of high-end deals closed last month. We had six that were over $5 million, 33 that were between $2 and $5 million. So that brings that average and even that median up quite a bit. Days on the market, we're at 73 days on the market. So if you've currently got your home on the market and it hasn't sold yet, that probably means that you are priced outside of where the buyers are seeing the perception of value. If it's close to the 73, you're probably still okay. And keep in mind, too, that the higher the price point of the property, the longer the time on the market it's going to take. That just is. There are fewer buyers the higher up you go. If you're under $1 million, you're going to have a lower days on market. $1 million to $2 million, it gets up into the 120 days and higher from there, sometimes up to a year when you're looking at the $3, $4, $5, $6 million properties.
I saw, not to interrupt you, but I have been seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, an awful lot of price reductions. There's been people, I saw one, Dusty Baker, $1 million price reduction last month.
Well, let me just say, Dusty is a great agent.
I know he's a great agent.
He is a great agent.
But I've never seen $1 million price reduction. And I've been doing this for 24 years. Here's
what it comes down to. All we can do is advise our sellers. We advise them of what we believe the right asking price would be, what we think we can get for it, and what the asking price should be. And it should be somewhere fairly close. If you're looking at $1 million price reduction, one of two things happened. He was finally able to talk sense into the seller, or perhaps it went into escrow and fell through and something came out of it that showed, who knows? I mean, we'd have to ask Dusty that.
Have you ever seen $1 million price reduction?
Not all at once.
No, that's what
but
I'm
it's
saying.
Like the
One-time $1 million price. I have never seen that.
But it's like the guy that's willing to pay $300,000 more than his $1.6 million house is worth.
Yeah.
And it's the same situation
get
if
it.
somebody needs to sell quickly. And how much it was the asking price? Was it $26 million? Because $1 million off $26 million is not very
No,
much.
$7 million.
$7 million.
So $7 million. But then there is and this. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to tell you a story after we get finished about this seasoned agent walks into this guy's house, and the owner says, I think I want to sell it for this amount of money. I want to list it. And the agent walks around, and he's, I'm not interested in listing it for that price. We're going to have to get you somebody else. And then he hooked the buyer because he brought him down to reality. So it's controlling the buyers or sellers and hook the seller. I'm sorry, not hook, but with his expertise, his experience, just said, here's the way it is. And that I thought was one of the most brilliant moves on any agent's part that I've ever seen.
To walk
away from a listing.
Absolutely. To walk away from a buyer who consistently makes super low ball offers. I'm willing to write a low offer, but if even I think that it's crazy, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, because it is a time waster.
It is.
For some people.
And
for this
with
guy,
the listing, it kind of depends on where it is. I mean, am I going to get some good sign exposure? Will I be able to sell it eventually? Is it a 1-year listing contract? There's a lot of things to take into consideration. I'm not going to take an overpriced listing that I only have for 3 months. I won't take a listing for 3 months anyway, but
that's experience talking. We're going to take one more commercial break. Listen, this show is rebroadcast 10 p.m. on Tuesdays, Sundays at noon. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back speaking with the Ruth Ann Bowe of Village Properties. And, I'm really impressed with Ruth Ann, and I love working with her. And I love working with her for several different reasons. But the main reason here is I'm impressed on how she creates opportunities for buyers and sellers. She's not like a realtor that'll wait around for the phone to ring. She's constantly and consistently reaching out. Heck, she's reached out to people that didn't even know they wanted to sell, but then they're sold. They're going, really? Did I really want to sell? Wow, this is great.
It's not quite like that. They're happy about it. They're thrilled.
Yeah,
I would never want somebody to look back and say, I wish I hadn't sold ever.
I know, but you get the gist of it. It's like, wow, this is great. I didn't even know I wanted to sell, but this is wonderful. I've seen it happen. I've seen her win over clients that are just the worst clients I know because I've introduced her to them, and now they're putty in her hands, and she's putty in their hands. So that's a great relationship. No matter what anybody says, that's a great relationship. So, Ruth Ann, when you need to create opportunities like that for your buyers and sellers, I don't want you to give any trade secrets because it works. But what motivates you?
There's so many different things. It's for me, and I know this sounds kind of corny, but it's not about the paycheck. I make good money, and I don't need the extra paycheck. It's really about making it happen for my clients. There is something that warms my heart when I get a first-time home buyer into their first home, and it's something, or maybe it's even their second home because their family has grown, and they never thought that they could do it. And sometimes when the market is as competitive as it has been, how do you differentiate your buyer from all of the other buyers? And sometimes it's a matter of finding situations that nobody else knows about yet. I've got ways of doing that are fun. Part of it is writing letters and making phone calls and knocking on doors and calling people like you. Hey, who do you know? Or if I have a listing and it's somebody that just really doesn't want to deal with the property actually being on the market, how do we find a buyer for it that's still going to pay full market value? and make it so that it's an easy, smooth transition if that's what that seller needs. It's all about understanding what your client needs and what they want and what they need versus what they want but cannot afford. Really pinpointing that and helping them to be realistic in it. It's just about caring. I love what I do. Can you tell?
Yeah, I can. And I know that for a fact up front, firsthand, because I was involved in one of the greatest transactions with you.
That was a fun one.
They didn't think they can afford it. They were waiting and waiting for this dollar amount to appear for the sale of their house. You remember that?
It took us a year.
And I said, wait a minute, maybe we're approaching this thing all wrong. Here's a structure that's going to allow you to sell your house for this. You don't have to wait for more money from the sale of the house.
That was pure magic on your part.
She loved it. She's all, really? I'll never forget it because it was like 6:30 at night. I was talking to her and she's all, really?
We're going over there on one of these Sundays. I'll let you know when you'll have to come. The seller's going to be there, the buyer.
No way.
Kristen,
my God.
assistant, Kristen Hall. Shout out to Kristen Hall. Love you, girl. We're going to go see what they've done to the house because they have done a lot and not a lot. And
so it's going to be like a barbecue thing. Can I bring some food?
I don't even know what they're going to do.
I'll cook.
We're going to talk about it, but we'll do something. But we'll make sure
I
you
just
and
mooched
Victoria.
my way in there.
I was inviting you.
Cool.
Elizabeth, I hope it's okay with you.
I'll cook. Hey, so yeah, it's good stuff. You create opportunity. You make things happen. That's what it's all about. Let's talk. Let's go into something fun. Then we're going to go back to real estate. But let's move into the reunion. It's a locals thing. It's going to be taking place at the old Chad's restaurant. And that address, anybody that's
633.
633 Chapala. Anybody in Santa Barbara remembers Chad's.
If you are 30 years and over and you've been here for more than 10 years, then you probably know Chad's.
We are having...
And we are...
Go ahead.
So this is a reunion, really kind of just a local thing. The idea is it is a fundraiser for Jody House, which is... a local nonprofit that is supporting local people. So it's a local hotspot supporting a local nonprofit, which is supporting local people. Jody House is a brain injury recovery center. So what that means is, let's say that you have a stroke or you have an accident, you have a traumatic brain injury, you go into the hospital, you get out of the hospital, you move over to rehabilitation. That takes you so far, and then you're released, and then what? How do you get back into real life? How do you get a job? Your brain doesn't function the same, and so you need to retrain your brain. And that's what the Jody House does. They have music therapy. They have cooking lessons. They have job training. They have the people there. It just amazes me how much they care about all of the members that they're serving, all of the community that they're serving, and their hearts are in it. They wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. And this I'm the vice president of the board of directors now, and we need the funds. We need the money to continue doing this and to grow it and to make it even better than it already is. So come on out. The event, the fun part of it, the event is Thursday, September 21st. The event is from 6 to 9, although we will have a VIP happy hour from 5 to 6. You can go to jodyhouse.org/events/reunion-mixer for more information, or you can call me, Ruth Ann Bowe at Village Properties, or just go to jodyhouse.org. I'm sure you can find it.
One cool thing is, for an hour, I'm going to be the celebrity bartender.
Yes, you
Right?
are.
Or do I have to do it all night? Or is it just an hour?
2 hours.
2 hours. I'm going to be the celebrity bartender at the Jody House event, slinging cocktails. Won't be my first cocktail that I've slung. I can tell you that much. Okay, we're going to take our final commercial break For some, it seems like we're having a lot of breaks, Richard. I mean, give me a break. Okay, there you go. You're listening to Mortgage Matters, your guy in the mortgage industry. I'm visiting with Ruth Ann Bowe, Village Properties. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back for the final 7 minutes, or 6.3 minutes.
6.5.
6.5 now of Mortgage Matters. Speaking with Ruth Ann Bowe. So we're going to have to make this quick because since it's my show, the last 3 minutes are definitely all Guy. But there is something here that needs to be addressed. ZIR, Zoning Inspection Reports. Tell us all about them. Tell us what's going on. Give it to us.
Zoning information reports. They have been a pain in many tushes over the last many years.
7?
Longer than that.
Wow.
Long time. So the city is busy. They are swamped and trying to do a great job. And what ends up happening is so the zoning inspection report, zoning information report is when the city comes in when a house is sold and they walk through your home and identify if any changes have been made to the home without the proper permits. And if it comes up that it has been, it can be a flag on the zoning report. Sometimes it's a flag that has to be fixed immediately, and sometimes it's a flag that just says the next time you do something where you're going to get a permit, you're going to need to get this permitted. But it's killed deals. Fortunately, not too many for me. Hasn't killed any deals for me. But the problem is that it does cause a lot of problems, and it has killed deals.
Tons of added stress as well.
Absolutely. And what was happening was that there would be things that had been 2 or 3 zoning reports done previously in the life of an existing situation that all of a sudden shows up as a violation 15, 16 years later, like the washer and dryer in the garage. It's been there forever, wasn't on the other zoning reports. You can tell that it's been there forever, yet it becomes a violation. So the Association of Realtors has been fighting it, trying to get it so that it is no longer mandatory. What we have been able to accomplish, and it is not really a win, it's just a minor hint towards a win, but a lot of people don't know about it, is that you now can decide whether you want to allow the city to come into your home or not. They can do a zoning information report just looking at the exterior of your home from the sidewalk. The challenge there is that it's written in big, bold red on the top of the report that states whether you allowed them to come in or not. And if you didn't, we don't know what that's going to mean in the future. It could just mean that if you ever do go get a permit, they need to be more thorough when they're looking. It could mean any number of things. But the bottom line is it's a step in the right direction, we hope. If you do have some things that are not permitted, it's not a way to get around that. You do still want to make sure you disclose it to your buyer. Disclose. It'll save you from serious headaches and possible lawsuits down the road. But that's what that's all about. Now we don't absolutely have to have the internal inspection.
And hopefully more changes are coming down that line. But you never can tell. So that zoning inspection report is now optional from the inside or out.
So it's not optional. You still have to pay for it.
You got to have it, but you get an option of having them come inside or not.
That's it, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, which is, like you said, step in the right direction. It's not, closure, but it's a step in. Yeah, keep fighting it. So it's been great speaking with you, Ruth Ann. Thank you for the stats.
And thank you for the extra 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Guy.
thank you.
We cut into your 3 minutes.
Well, I just have to say, and I have to reiterate to the listeners that when you are thinking about making that move to owning real estate, call Ruth Ann Bowe, go to the BRE website. If you interview 1 or 2 different agents, just don't take the first one that knocks on the door. Or, that your cousin used 5 years ago. Everybody that you deal with, you need to pull up on the BRE and make sure that their license is current. They've had no infractions, no violations. I say that every time I'm on this show. I say that about the especially the lenders that have jumped around from different company to company. You've been the same company now. Well, you were
No,
with
actually,
Keller.
I did jump.
Yeah, how many? But only once, right? Once or twice.
Caldwell Banker to
Keller?
Keller Williams. I really wanted to be downtown.
Yeah. So, but it's different with lenders. I mean, we're dealing with their finances and whatnot. So, go to the NMLS Consumer, check up on your lender, or just directly call Guy Rivera Guarantee Mortgage, 1736 State Street, 687-6282. Give us your number to get in touch with you.
698-1971, 698-1971, or go to sellingsb.com.
Thanks, Ruth Ann, for being on. You guys have just heard Mortgage Matters. This is Guy Rivera speaking with Ruth Ann Bowe, your guy in the mortgage industry. We'll see you next week.
That was a tasteful and moving program, Mr. Rivera.